Have you ever really stopped to think about how your phone knows exactly where you are? It's not magic, I promise. It's actually this invisible grid that wraps around the entire planet, a kind of secret address system, and it powers everything from your map app to global shipping. So today, we're going to crack that code. Right? You just pull out your phone and boom, there's that little blue dot showing your precise location on a map. But how? Well, the answer isn't just in some fancy microchip. It's in a brilliant system that was designed over a century ago to solve one of humanity's oldest problems, just knowing where the heck you are. The secret is this invisible grid blanketing the entire planet. The best way to think about it is like a universal address system for the Earth. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly how to read it. So this whole thing, this global address book, is officially called the Geographical Coordinate System. And you know what? It's surprisingly simple. It's all built on just two sets of lines that cross over each other. That's it. Let's start with the ones that go side to side. First up, latitude. Just picture these as a bunch of imaginary hoops circling the Earth horizontally. They run east and west, but their main job is to measure how far north or south you are from the planet's center line, which we all know as the equator. Okay, so these lines are also called parallels, which makes perfect sense because they run parallel to each other and never ever touch. The equator is our starting point at 0 degrees. From there, you go all the way up to 90 degrees at the North Pole or down to 90 degrees at the South Pole. And this isn't just some random number. It's a huge clue about the climate. See, the higher your latitude, the colder it generally gets. Now, among all these parallels, there are a few heavy hitters. You've got the equator at 0 degrees, splitting the world into the northern and southern hemispheres. Then you have the tropics, which mark the area where the sun can be directly overhead. That's why it's so warm there. And finally, you've got the Arctic and Antarctic circles, which define the polar regions. You know, the places where you can get 24 hours of daylight or darkness. Pretty cool. So latitude tells us our north-south position. Awesome. But that only puts us somewhere on a giant circle wrapping around the globe. To find our exact spot, we also need to know our east-west position. And that, my friends, is where the other half of our grid comes in, longitude. Lines of longitude are the total opposite. Think of them as vertical slices of an orange. They run from the North Pole straight down to the South Pole. Their job is to measure how far east or west you are from one very specific, internationally agreed-upon line, the Prime Meridian. So unlike latitude's parallels, these lines, also called meridians, all meet up at the poles. The system starts at 0 degrees longitude, which runs through Greenwich, London. That's the Prime Meridian, and from there it goes 180 degrees east and 180 degrees west. But look at that last point. This is where longitude has a secret superpower that latitude doesn't even have. That's right. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Latitude gives us climate, but longitude gives us time. Every single time zone on this planet is directly tied to these vertical lines. So how in the world does that work? It's actually some pretty simple math. The Earth spins a full 360 degrees in 24 hours. Okay, so you divide 360 by 24, and what do you get? 15. For every 15 degrees of longitude you travel across, the local time changes by 1 hour. It's this beautiful link between where we are and what time it is. Okay, let's recap. We've got horizontal lines for our north-south position and vertical lines for our east-west position. Now, on their own, they're useful, sure. But to find one specific spot, you need them to work together. You need to find the exact point where they cross. And that intersection point has a name. It's called a coordinate. Think of it as the X marks the spot on our global treasure map. It's the unique address for every single spot on Earth, made by one latitude line meeting one longitude line. So, a real global address looks something like this. The coordinates for the city of Karachi, for example, are 24.86 degrees north and 67.01 degrees east. It might look like just a couple of numbers, but that pair tells you exactly where to find it on a world map. No ambiguity. Let's just break that down really quick. Now, there's a rule here, a convention. Latitude always comes first. Always. So that first number, 24.86 degrees north, tells us how far north of the equator Karachi is. The second number, 67.01 degrees east, tells us its position east of the Prime Meridian. Put them together, and you've got one and only one location on the entire planet. All right, just to make sure we've got this totally locked in, let's do a quick side-by-side.
It'll really help highlight the differences between these two sets of lines and what they do.
So here's the easiest way I like to remember it. For latitude, think of climbing a ladder. It tells you how high up north or down south you are, and that affects the climate. For longitude, think of moving the long way around the globe, from one time zone to the next. So, ladder for climate and long ways for time. Simple as that.
So, why did we just go through all this? Because this is so much more than a cool geography lesson. This system, this invisible grid, is the engine running huge parts of our modern world.
Seriously, this isn't some abstract theory. The GPS in your car, it's constantly calculating your coordinates. Every single plane in the sky and every ship out at sea is navigating a course plotted on this grid. When weather forecasters track a hurricane, or when emergency services are rushing to a disaster zone, they are using this exact system to save lives. It is literally the invisible scaffolding holding up our interconnected world.
So the next time you check a map app or see that little blue dot that says you are here, you'll know about the incredible, elegant system of latitude and longitude that's making it all possible. This grid has defined our world for centuries, which makes you wonder, right? What's going to be the next big evolution in figuring out our place in the universe?